I'm going to explain the deal done by Ireland's Finance Minister Michael Noonan last February when he transposed the contentious promissory notes to sovereign bonds. By January of this year, most people in Ireland were beginning to grasp how the promissory notes worked. Every March 31st, from 2011 to 2023, our government would borrow €3.06 billion. This money would end up with the Central Bank of Ireland, who would destroy it. From 2024 to 2031, we will continue borrowing and burning, albeit at a reduced rate, until the entire original €30.6 billion promissory notes plus interest was paid. All told, it came to €47.58 billion, though the interest went largely to ourselves. As the reality of this absurdity dawned on people, there was outrage. A broken economy, borrowing €3.1 billion every year to pay a debt from which we had never benefited. Those billions then destroyed. This was from the Lull and Hardy School of Economics, surely. Pressure mounted on the government to tear up the remaining €25 billion promissory notes and face down the Troika, the ECB in particular. But no, government didn't have the stomach for that particular fight. Instead, they came up with a new arrangement, a deal which transforms very debatable debt, totally illegal, Michael Noonan admitted on national radio, into sovereign bonds. Here is what happens now. As a result of Noonan's deal, the National Treasury Management Agency, the NTMA, issued bonds to the value of €25 billion, which are now held by the Central Bank of Ireland. That €25 billion was used to buy out the remaining promissory notes, which were then destroyed. But here's where it gets interesting. Before the end of 2014, the Central Bank will sell one of those new promissory note bonds for €500 million. Before the end of 2015, another €500 million promissory note bond will be sold. Then another and another, the increments increasing until in 2032, the last bond is sold, a not so grand total of €25 billion, exactly the same as the remaining promissory notes. What happens to the €25 billion thus taken in before 2032? Exactly the same thing as would have happened to the remaining €25 billion of the original promissory notes. Year after year, billion after billion, that money is destroyed by the central bank. Every last cent. On all those borrowed and burned billions, we're paying interest. Over €40 billion in total. But that's not the end of it. In 2038, a new schedule kicks in. The bondholders come a-calling, looking for their original money back. The money that we destroyed. Just pause and take that in. Expecting to make huge profits, institutional financiers loaned billions to cowboy Irish bankers in Anglo and in Irish nationwide. Those investments failed, and now we, the Irish people, are landed with this bill plus interest, a projected total of €72 billion for those promissory notes alone. Would you do this to your own kids? To settle disputed debt you are being strong-armed into paying, would you take out a huge loan for your kids and their kids to pay? Because this is what Minister Noonan has now done in your name. Intergenerational national debt is normal, but there's nothing normal about this. The promissory note billions were for the exclusive benefit of banks, bankers and high financiers. The sovereign bonds that now replace them are exactly the same. Every government spokesperson on this talks about savings. But how do you effect savings in paying a debt you never owed? What they're diverting you from is this. With the promissory notes, we were borrowing to burn. With these sovereign bonds, we are still borrowing to burn. Exactly the same amount. We have eased the burden on ourselves temporarily, but we've passed it on with interest to our kids. As with so much that he has done since becoming Minister for Finance, Noonan's New Deal has been generally acclaimed in our national media. But since this government came to power, one little boy, and then another, has been saying, the emperor has no clothes. On this deal, we're saying, the emperor has new clothes, the same as the old clothes. It's a sham. It's a scam. You choose who to believe. Choose what you do next. Ballyhay says no. Charleville says no. A growing number of towns and villages around the country have joined us in the Ireland Says No campaign. There's still time for you to join us, but that time is running out. The sale of those bonds is scheduled to begin before the end of 2014. No matter what, we must not let that happen.